There are breakthrough wins, and then there are the kind of victories that completely change the way an entire country looks at a sport. Alex Eala may have just delivered the second kind. What happened in Washington was bigger than one trophy, bigger than one upset, and honestly, bigger than 1 week of tennis. Eala walked into the DC Open as a rising star carrying massive expectations from Filipino fans, and she walked out holding a WTA 500 trophy after beating some of the biggest names in the game. And almost immediately, the story exploded beyond tennis. Lawmakers in the Philippines celebrated her. Fans packed the stands like she was playing a home event. Social media went into overdrive. And then another name unexpectedly started circulating in the conversation, Barack Obama. Now, to be clear, no confirmed statement from Obama about this specific win was established in the source material. But the fact that people were even asking whether a former US president might react tells you just how far this moment traveled. After the match, Eala could barely put the feeling into words. She called it a personal achievement, said she had worked incredibly hard, and admitted that winning a 500-level event felt almost unreal. At the beginning of the week, she said, there was no way she would have imagined herself holding that trophy. Even at the start of the year, she could not have predicted a moment like this. That raw disbelief mattered because this was not some junior title or exhibition trophy. According to the source, this was a full tour-level singles championship on American soil, and it made Eala the first Filipino man or woman to win a tour-level singles title. And the final itself gave fans just about everything they could ask for. Jessica Pegula stood across the net, one of the most established players on tour and, as described in the source, the world's numero 3 player at the time. Eala dropped the opening set 4-6. Against somebody as steady and experienced as Pegula, losing the first set could easily have turned into the beginning of the end. Then the weather changed everything. Rain interrupted the match in Washington with Pegula leading 2-1 pulgada. The second set that meant Eala had to leave the stadium, head back to the hotel, and sit with an unfinished championship match overnight. Think about how brutal that can be mentally. You are 21 years old, playing the biggest final of your career, already one set down, and instead of riding the adrenaline all the way to the finish, you are forced to stop, go home, somehow sleep, and wake up knowing the biggest match of your life is still waiting for you. For a lot of players, that kind of delay is where doubt starts creeping in. Your opponent gets time to adjust. Your own nerves have hours to build. Every scenario starts playing in your head. Eala came back and flipped the entire match. She took the second set 6-4, then completely took over. According to the source, she won the final 9 games of the match, including a 6-0 third set against Pegula, and allowed her only 8 points in that deciding set, that is a bagel in a WTA 500 final against one of the world's elite players. She later admitted she had been extremely nervous in those closing moments and almost felt like everything blurred together. Rather than fighting the nerves, she tried to channel them into moving her feet, striking the ball cleanly, and staying committed to every point. When it was over, she fell to the court as everything hit her at once. She described it as an explosion of emotion after all the tension that had built throughout the week. She had entered the tournament knowing the draw was brutal, and she felt every match presented a completely different problem. Yet each time another obstacle appeared, she found an answer. And this was not a one-match miracle. Before Pegula, Eala had already gone through a loaded draw. The source says her championship path included Seng Quinbin, Leila Fernandez, Elina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka, and then Pegula. In one of the most dramatic moments of the run, she battled back against Fernandez after trailing 5-1. Then came Osaka in the semifinals, where Eala won 6-4, 6-2 against the 4-time Grand Slam champion and former world numero uno. Osaka's reaction afterward was significant. She praised Eala as an amazing player, called her incredible, and said she believed Eala was a star and someone people could look up to. Osaka also spoke about the remarkable fan base following Eala. She contrasted that atmosphere with the more restrained support she was used to from Japanese fans and said the energy surrounding Eala reminded her of something closer to a basketball crowd than a normal tennis audience. That crowd became one of the stories of the tournament. Filipino fans poured into the main stadium carrying flags and making themselves heard all week. Reporters noted how unusually loud and passionate the support became. Some fans even applauded missed serves from Eala's opponents, which definitely breaks traditional tennis etiquette, but it showed how emotionally invested they were. After matches, supporters followed Eala toward outdoor interview areas simply so they could continue cheering behind the cameras. This was a WTA 500 tournament in Washington, D.C., thousands of miles from Manila, yet at moments it sounded like Eala was playing a home match. Filipino community groups reportedly organized watch parties. Parents brought children wrapped in Philippine colors. Familias showed up together. The excitement had already been building through her earlier results, but Washington took it to another level. Commentators began calling it Eala mania, and the phrase did not feel exaggerated anymore. That enthusiasm makes more sense when you consider what Eala had already done before Washington. The source points to her WTA 125 title in Birmingham in June, described as her second career title overall and her first on grass. She had also made the quarterfinals of the Miami Open after entering as a wild card ranked número 141, producing one of the biggest surprises of that event. She later reached the round of 16 at Wimbledon, another first for Filipino tennis according to the source. That Wimbledon achievement was significant enough that the Philippine House of Representatives adopted Resolution No. 1190 honoring her. And after the DC Open Championship, lawmakers again moved to formally recognize what she had accomplished. Representative Toby Tienco filed a resolution congratulating her for becoming the first Filipino to win a WTA Tour-level singles title. According to the story, Eala's accomplishments have repeatedly made their way into the country's legislative record. Earlier achievements, including her USA Open main draw success and Junior Grand Slam title, had also received recognition. That pattern is important. This is not a government suddenly reacting to one lucky week. Eala has steadily become a symbol of national pride because every few months, she seems to reach another milestone nobody from the Philippines had reached before. That is also why the Obama speculation caught fire. Barack Obama has congratulated American athletes at historic moments before, so some fans began wondering whether Eala's Washington breakthrough might eventually get his attention too. Again, the important distinction is that the source did not establish a confirmed Obama statement about Eala. The conversation was speculation. But because of Obama's past record of publicly reacting to major athletic milestones, people started imagining the possibility. In a strange way, the rumor itself showed how enormous Eala's moment had become. People were no longer discussing her only inside tennis circles. Her name was moving through general sports pages, Filipino community discussions, celebrity commentary, and even political conversations. And her popularity is not just about winning. Fans repeatedly talk about the way she carries herself. She remains calm, respectful, and measured even after massive victories. One commentator pointed to the way she handled beating Osaka, walking to the net, shaking hands, and moving on without acting as if she could not believe what had happened. That composure suggested something deeper. Eala is starting to believe she belongs on these stages. That might be the most important development of all. At some point, a young player stops walking onto the court hoping she can be the superstar and starts walking out there believing she should. Eala has now beaten multiple high-ranked opponents. She has won under pressure. She has handled different surfaces. She has survived big crowds, rain delays, comeback situations, and championship nerves. Mentally, it changes a player. Technically, her game is also attracting attention. Some analysts have criticized the raw speed of her serve, but others point out how much spin and movement she creates. The ball can stay low and awkward, making it difficult for opponents to attack cleanly. Her return game has become one of her biggest strengths. She can drive returns deep at an opponent's feet, immediately take control of the next ball, and turn defensive situations into attacking opportunities. From the baseline, she plays aggressively enough to punish short balls, But the biggest change appears to be how comfortable she now looks against elite opposition. The online reaction after championship point captured that perfectly. Clips of Eala celebrating spread rapidly. One moment in particular, when confetti unexpectedly exploded during the trophy presentation and visibly surprised her, went viral because it looked completely genuine. Fans replayed it because they were watching someone experience the biggest professional moment of her career without any rehearsed reaction. And for Filipino sports fans, that emotion hit differently. Basketball and boxing have traditionally dominated sports culture in the Philippines. Tennis has never enjoyed that same position. According to the source, before this breakthrough, no Filipino man or woman had ever won a tour-level singles championship in the modern era. Eala changed that. The title reportedly came with 500 ranking points and 252,000 pulgadas prize money, while also positioning her for a new career-high ranking. But the larger impact may take years to measure. Parents are reportedly talking about enrolling their kids in tennis programs. Tennis clubs in Manila had already seen increased interest following her Wimbledon run, and that was before she lifted the trophy in Washington. That is how a sports culture grows. A kid sees somebody who comes from the same country, hears the same stories, carries the same flag, and suddenly an impossible dream looks a little more realistic. So whether Barack Obama ever says anything about this championship is ultimately beside the point. Eala does not need that validation for the moment to matter. The Philippine Congress has already recognized her. Naomi Osaka publicly called her a star and an inspiration. Filipino fans turned the Washington tennis tournament into something that felt like a national celebration. And at 21 years old, Alex Eala has already done something no Filipino player before her had done. Now comes the part everybody wants to see. Was Washington the peak of one incredible week, or was it the moment a future star officially arrived? Based on everything that happened, the comeback, the bagel against Pagula, the win over Osaka, the history, the fan movement, and the composure she showed under pressure, there is a growing sense that this story is only getting started.